Howdy folks, and welcome back to Cold Waters. Commander Jingles McJingleberry reporting, Commanding Officer of the Los Angeles-class hunter-killer submarine, the USS Hyman G. Rickover. We're currently docked in Holy Loch in Scotland, undergoing repairs to the damage that we sustained in the previous mission, for which we were awarded the Bronze Star. I'm just saying. And stocking up with Tomahawk land attack missiles. Our current mission is to conduct a long-range guided missile strike on the Soviet naval port of Gremika. In order to do that, we have to load at least 10 TLAMs on board. We have to hit the target with 10 TLAMs. So I'm reliably informed that launching Tomahawks is a little tricky. So I'm going to take a little bit more than the 10 that I need, just in case. This, of course, is going to leave me a little bit low on Mark 48 torpedoes, and West Germany's just been conquered. Right. Well, that's not great news, so we need to get these repairs complete, get these missiles loaded on board, and put this thing to sea. Gremika is a fair old distance away. It's about halfway between Murmansk and Archangelsk. Oh, hello. This is probably not going to be good news. Belgium's been conquered. Right, we better get our ass in gear. Moving at cruising speed, hoping we don't run into any wolf packs of hunter-killer submarines along the way. The SOSUS net has picked up... Whoa, that was close. Almost ran into a surface group. We have to slow down now, because there's a submarine pack operating to the north, and there's heavy maritime patrol aircraft activity, and I really don't want to be detected before I get to the mission area. Hugging the coastline, passing north of Murmansk, and slowing right down for a stealthy approach into Gremika. And we have reached the mission deployment zone. Right, let's get this done. We have a sonar contact bearing 139 designated Sierra 1. There's a very weak thermal layer at 207 feet. However, rig the boat for ultra quiet, have a look at the local conditions. The depth of water is only 222 feet, and it's very, very quiet. It's only 81 decibels. That's not good. There's nowhere for us to hide here. Also, with 222 feet depth of water, if I go any faster than a head 1/3, I'm going to start cavitating. And the second I launch these TLAMs, I'm basically drawing a great big smoke trail pointing back to exactly where I am. So ideally what you want to do is fire off your TLAMs and then dive and sprint away from your launch position. But I can't do that. Well, I can, but I'm going to be cavitating because the water's only 220 feet deep. People have been asking in previous videos, what is cavitating and why is it a bad thing? The faster the screws of your propeller turn, the bigger the chance they're going to start generating lots and lots and lots of water bubbles. Now, the deeper you are, the greater the water pressure, which means that the deeper you are, the faster you can go without generating those water bubbles and cavitating. Why is cavitating a bad thing? It generates a lot of noise. You can hear people cavitating in the water from miles away. And generally speaking, in a submarine, being heard is a very, very bad thing. Of course, I'm about to launch a whole bunch of Tomahawk land attack missiles, and they're going to hear and see those as well. But if the water was deeper, I could dive, get to a sufficient depth where I can come to flank speed, and put some distance between myself and the missile launch point. But at this depth, I can't do that without making a lot of noise, and anybody who's out here looking for whoever launched those missiles is going to know where I am instantly. So I make a whole bunch of mistakes here. I've just fired off one of my Tomahawks. Sonar's just picked up contact Sierra 1 again. Now I don't know exactly what it is, but it's not going to be friendly out here a few miles to the north of Gremika, so I fire off a torpedo against it. Now what I should have done here, firing a torpedo against that contact, which is probably a surface vessel, is not a bad idea, but what I should have done was come up to periscope depth and ID the target. And if it is a patrol vessel, torpedo him and then get the hell out of there. Then, once the area is clear, come back up to missile launch depth, then fire off all of my TLAMs, and then do my level best to get the hell out of there. That's what I should have done. But why didn't you do that, Jingles? Because I'm an idiot? I don't know, I got nothing. Okay, we've ID'd contact Sierra 1 now, and I do believe it is a surface vessel. Looks like the acoustic signature of a Cashin class destroyer. I'm now firing off the remainder of my TLAMs. I'm going to have to reload the tubes because I have to hit the target with 10 of these things. So that Cashin can now see. I mean, he doesn't need sensors, he doesn't need radar, he doesn't need sonar. He can now see a submarine firing missiles. The Cashin is armed. This is assuming I've made the correct ID, by the way. If it is a Cashin, it's armed with RBU 6000 and RBU 1000 anti-submarine rocket launchers, and it has to get within about 6,000 yards to fire those. It also has a helicopter, and the helicopter's a big threat. I am, however, not entirely convinced I have successfully ID'd that target. Because, do you see what I see? Got the periscope up. That kind of looks like a missile launch. And unless I'm very much mistaken, the Cashin does not have SSN-14 anti-submarine missile launchers. Whoever that is does. Oh, I'm in the shit. I mean, of course I'm in the shit. I couldn't have done that more wrong if I'd tried. Why, oh why did I mean, I'm up here anyway. Why not just come to periscope depth, do a quick sweep, check for any surface threats, and if there are any surface threats, either sink them or move somewhere where there aren't any surface threats. Torpedo in the water, here it comes. Drop the noisemaker. Come on, come on, come on. Oh, it got fooled by the noisemaker. Okay. Oh crap, another torpedo. That's another SSN-14, or potentially, well, they couldn't already have a helicopter overhead. Well, you'd be surprised. We are at war, after all. Whoever that is has probably got a helicopter sitting on his flight deck at alert 5 ready to go, and any second now they can be overhead with the dipping sonar, and that looks like somebody overhead with a dipping sonar. Which means there are going to be more torpedoes. Oh, how the hell am I going to get out of this alive? There's only 222 feet of water, there's nowhere to hide, and there's also nowhere to manoeuvre. And forget you. Oh, look at this. Jesus, that one scraped the paint. Don't forget you're operating in 3 dimensions here, so you can evade up and down. Here comes another one. No, I'm hit. What's the damage? Oh, they've disabled my reactor. That means I have no power to the engine, which means I'm dead in the water. Actually, I think it means I'm just dead. How many torpedoes is that? Because it kind of looks like all of them. I'm hit again. There's another 2 coming in. And just when you thought I hadn't screwed up enough for one day, I decide to launch a Moss in order to decoy these torpedoes away, but I fire it out the wrong side. So even if they are going after the Moss, they've got to go through me to get to it. All hands, this is the captain. Bend over, grab your ankles, and kiss your ass goodbye. And that is it for the USS Hyman G. Rickover. Yeah, that Cashin, that was actually a Krevac. That explains the SSN-14 missiles. And that hopefully illustrates why it's always a good idea to ID your target, particularly if you only have 222 feet depth of water to evade counter-firing. However, well, I've got to say this, for the US Navy's rescue teams, considering we were about 30 miles to the north of Gremica, they did a damn good job in recovering me and my crew. And the Navy are dumb enough to give me another boat. Ladies and gentlemen, Commander Jingles McJingleberry, Commanding Officer, USS Augusta. Jingles, we've got another mission for you. Try not to screw this one up. Enemy cruise missile submarines are returning to their bases in northern Russia after conducting successful missile attacks against convoys operating in the North Atlantic. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, and you will choose to accept it, is to sink the buggers. Roger that, Admiral. Let's put this boat to sea and try not to break it this time. So, we get the old girl to sea, and we proceed to the north, transiting the Norwegian Sea. There's a surface group in the vicinity of the Norwegian Sea. I really don't want to run into that. But my screw-ups for the day ain't finished yet, and no, I'm not going to run into the surface group. I've got my sights set firmly on that submarine pack operating to the northeast. But that can't possibly be my mission target. Think about it, my mission is returning to base after conducting successful missile strikes. That group of submarines is obviously conducting an anti-submarine patrol in order to intercept dumbasses like me heading after the guided missile submarines returning to base. But I haven't quite figured that out just yet. So, we're blazing through the water at 26 knots and we just gained a contact on a bearing of 19 degrees, designated Sierra 1. 19 degrees would put him more or less due north of my position, and I'm sailing more or less due north at the moment. So what I want to do is, obviously I've slowed down, I've rigged the boat for ultra quiet. At 5 knots we can put the towed array sonar out, and we're going to want to swing around to a course of either 270 or about 90, 100 degrees in order to present the beam of the boat to the heading at which Sierra 1 was detected. That's going to give my towed array sonar its best possible chance of picking up a target. Less than a minute later, just as I'm passing above this very weak thermal layer at 177 feet, the sonar picks up contact Sierra 1 on a bearing of 35 degrees. I look at how close it is and I almost got a brown alert right there and then, but, well, it's a very, very poor contact. That's just an estimate. That could just be a harmonic. That's not necessarily exactly where he is. Still, it does pay to be cautious because that could be exactly where he is, and he's very, very close. But I'm hearing no active sonar. I'm not hearing him going to attack speed, which would indicate that he's just fired a torpedo. I haven't heard any launch transients from somebody flooding their torpedo tubes or opening their torpedo tube doors. So we're going to snapshot tube 1, contact Sierra 1, and then we're going to drop below that layer. Now it's not a particularly strong layer, but it might just be enough. And we'll see what happens. I've lost the wire because I'm turning away in order to go to flank speed if I detect any counterfire coming from contact Sierra 1. Sonar team are continuing to refine that target solution. It is getting a lot better. I've now got his course, his speed. I'm pretty confident of that range, and it's very reassuring to see that he's still only doing 8 knots, which would indicate he doesn't even realise he's under attack at this point. His acoustic profile matches that of a Foxtrot, which is a diesel boat. It's an old design. The first one was commissioned in 1958, although the Soviet Union was still building them up until 1983, which is the year before this campaign is set. And he's still only doing 8 knots. My torpedo is right on top of him. Oh, there's his active sonar. And you can see the torpedo in the distance. It's diving. Now he is a lot deeper than I'd estimated, but the torpedo seems to have a contact because it's going deep. My target solution on isn't quite good enough to actually show him. There's the torpedo. Oh no, there he is. Okay, yeah, we've got a very, very good contact now. Wait, hang on a minute, that's not a Foxtrot. I screwed up the classification. That's a Romeo. Oh, that's really, really bad news. Well, it's bad news for him. There goes his noisemaker. Why is it bad news for him? Well, basically, if you're looking at that submarine and thinking, that looks very familiar, I've seen those in a couple of World War II movies, you'd be absolutely right, because that is basically a Russian copy of the German World War II Type 21 U-boat. Well, that's not fair. It's not a copy of the Type 21 U-boat. Its design was developed from the Type 21 German World War II U-boat. Very, very surprising to see a Romeo all the way out here. And they don't usually operate alone. I mean, Soviet attack subs generally, as a rule, didn't operate alone anyway. But Romeos were known to operate in pairs with Juliets. Yes, I know. That's probably why we called these two classes of boats Romeos and Juliets. They were known to operate together. If there is a Juliet out here, though, I'm not picking it up. That guy has gone very, very deep. And I'm confident he doesn't actually hold me on sonar. and my torpedo's executing a surge pattern, so he may have successfully avoided it. I'm picking up more of his noisemakers. I wonder if it's worth... Yeah, my sonar contact's degrading because he's so deep. Of course, he's so deep he's not cavitating anymore down there. And he's a diesel-electric boat, so he's going to be running on his batteries and making very little noise. And it doesn't look like my torpedo has him anymore, it's just executing a search pattern. You can see it circling around over there in the distance, and it is descending, so it is chasing him down. But just to be sure, I'm going to give him another one. So I'm launching a second Mark 48, and I've set this one to go deep. It's set to go active. We're going to lose the wire, of course. I should really have launched from tube 3 or 4 rather than 1 or 2 there. 1 and 2 are on the disengaged side, so as soon as it heads off in his direction, I'm going to lose the wire. But that's alright, because the torpedo has been set to search deep. It's set to go active. It's not a good idea to go hunting electric-powered submarines with passive sonar, only because they are very, very quiet. There we go, the wire's broken. So, he's got one torpedo on top of him, forcing him to stay deep. And while my target solution isn't fantastic, he can't be too far short of crush depth all the way down there. It's assuming he is all the way down there, and he probably is because he's got a weapon circling above him. And now he's got a second one heading down towards him. But I think we can safely say that the captain of that Romeo has just ordered the crew to full-on brown alert. His torpedo's still going at launch. There we go, it's gone active. And it's diving down on top of him. You could just see the first torpedo down below, and there's a noisemaker and another noisemaker. The first oh, he's imploded! Yep, none of the weapons reached him, but it didn't matter, he exceeded his crush depth. Well, a kill's a kill. Now I just have to make sure that none of those torpedoes loop around and get me. So, I'm a little concerned about the fact that I haven't detected any other contacts, however, because it's a Romeo, and they're known to operate in tandem with Juliets. But it's all gone very quiet. I'm not hearing any more active sonar. We have no more contacts other than the 2 weapons in the water. We're going to come up to periscope depth, do a quick sweep, make sure there's nothing on the surface, and then get the hell out of here. Depth 49 feet, raise the ESM mast. No contacts on ESM. Up scope. Let's have a quick look around. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything else up here. I mean, I could put the radar mast up and do a sweep with that, but hunting surface vessels isn't my mission. I'm supposed to be looking for guided missile submarines. The Romeo is not a guided missile submarine, so that was not my mission. So, we're going to secure the masts, get back underway, because somewhere out here there are missile boats, and they need a damn good sinking. And with any luck, by the time we do the next episode of Cold Waters, I might actually find the correct submarines and hopefully sink them. That's been it for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. As always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.